Ukrainian counteroffensive to be or not to be. Let's have your curiosity satisfied, dear world. It is me, Henry Keane, on UATV state channel, giving you the hard truth in easy terms. Pro-Kremlin commentators are rejoicing. After the floods of false information poured out on social media, Russian propaganda finally has its first real images of damaged German Leopard 2 tanks and an American infantry vehicle Bradley. Even Russian Tsar himself has reacted and mumbled something from under the ground, where he loves to spend the rest of his days for some reason. Russian bloggers, I quote from here, can watch this forever and like they should bring this burnt scrap to Moscow and put it near the respective embassies. So as per Russian bloggers, Leopard goes to German embassy and Bradley goes to to American embassy. So the West will get its long time deserved insult from Russia. And Ukrainian high military officials are more or less silent about all this. Why, wonders the world? It wonders every day. Well, do you have a secret? Any secret that is worth keeping? Like cash stashed in your fridge, maybe? A secret lover? Or otherwise, someone you secretly hate? You keep your secrets to yourself because it is not safe if anyone, gets a hold of this information. It's confidential. So you don't confide in your secrets the first passerby, like, hey, sir, I have love affair with my best friend's girl, but don't tell it to anyone, it's a secret. You don't do these things, right? Because if you do, you are going to harm yourself. And this is just one life you have to care about, yours. Now imagine you have to care for 40 million lives. And it is not just a socially not accepted love affair becoming public we're talking about here, but the future of the whole nation. Because an enemy invaded your homeland, and it kills, and it rapes, and it abducts children, and it fills the pits in the ground with dead bodies of your fellow people. You were fighting for your life and freedom for more than a year. By now you have finally got to the means to drive the enemy out of your lands. And you solely are Valery Zaluzhny, Ukrainian military forces commander-in-chief. What would you do? How would you answer those journalists asking you a question when, finally, Mr. Zaluzhny, the counteroffensive starts? Never, I say to you. Yes, you heard me just all right, never. There is no counteroffensive. It is called counter-defensive here in Ukraine, since it is an answer to the Russian invasion. As such, Ukrainian counter-defensive started long ago in 2014, Donbass, and continued after February 24, 2022, and has never stopped ever since, and it will go on until the moment Ukraine wins. My fellow colleagues in the United States, Europe, and all over the planet probably think this is some kind of a show or something, like they've paid for their entry tickets and they have their press cards ready and are already a bit tired of, this sensitive military news agenda they have to keep up to, and want a firm and a concrete answer once and for all, Mr. Zaluzhny, when you are going to win the war, for God's sake. Well, it is a top secret information, but anything for my beloved audience. All you wanted to know about the Ukrainian counteroffensive or defensive, you'll find in this 30-second video done by head of the main intelligence service of Ukraine, Mr. Kirill Budanov. It says in Ukrainian, to be continuing, plans love silence. You see, we in Ukraine want a counter-defensive, not just to be, but to be successful. We want it to be so well planned, so swift, so piercing through the Russian ranks, so indomitable, so victorious, that no one would ever expect it. And those burnt Leopard tanks and armored Bradley vehicles, well, à la guerre comme à la guerre, Comrade Putin. We in Ukraine will keep the information about our counter-defensive as secret as we can. So you in Kremlin won't notice when it starts, but you're surely to notice when, how, and where it is going to end. Let us do a surprise for you, the Kremlin. Long time deserved. Deputy Prime Minister of Hungary, Zsolt Semyen, has confirmed the transfer of 11 Ukrainian prisoners of war of Hungarian origin from Russia to Hungary. According to the Hungarian outlet UATV, the Russian Orthodox Church issued a statement on June 8th, I quote, "As part of inter-church cooperation, at the request of the Hungarian side, a group of Ukrainian prisoners of war of Transcarpathian origin who took part in combat actions was transferred to Hungary." Asked for comment earlier on Friday, a Hungarian government spokesman told Reuters agency the statement was fake news. However, later on the spokesman was not reachable for any comment. It is not really clear what had caused the apparent confusion within the Hungarian government. Maybe the fact that Hungary has not joined fellow EU and NATO members in giving military assistance to Ukraine and has repeatedly criticized EU sanctions against Russia, but eventually supported all the agreed measures so far, can be called a reason for a confusion, maybe? Well, what was it then? It very much looks like an attempt to resolve one of the million international political issues of Putin's regime using and abusing Hungarian state subordination to Moscow. Anyway, we in Ukraine welcomed the release of its prisoners of war, who are usually held in inhuman conditions in Russia. However, we stress out, these processes should be coordinated with Ukraine. It's our people, and we know how to bring them home from captivity. On June 11th, another 95 POVs were brought back home. What is really interesting is that Hungary did not inform Ukraine in any way about its intention beforehand, and did not even provide detailed information about the citizens of Ukraine immediately after the announcement of its successful conduct. Why? We leave this question open. It is usual Russian Soviet tactics, you see, ignoring the reason of them things gone wrong. And since Moscow is losing on the battlefield, it just ignores the Ukrainian side in politics. So to strengthen the propaganda narrative about the Kremlin's beloved imaginary split of Ukraine, the Russian Orthodox Church is attempting to whitewash itself. Closely linked to the Kremlin, it's responsible for justifying Putin's criminal aggression and inciting hatred towards Ukraine. The hard truth, in easy terms, Hungary, as usual, has played along Putin's propaganda narratives, becoming an accomplice of the Russian psyop, and has made another step towards Russia. It is hard to be a minion for Russia, isn't it, Mr. Orban? Not for you, obviously. You have millions of financial reasons, obviously, but to your country, that since getting closer and closer to Russia is only going to have more and more hard times standing against the truth. Russian forces blew up Kakhovka Dam, an hydropower plant on June 6th, which they had occupied for more than a year. President Volodymyr Zelensky called the Russian destruction of the dam the largest man-made ecological catastrophe in Europe in decades. Today, the water is receding. The danger remains, however, or maybe it is fair to say it has become greater than ever. The Kakhovka reservoir was the second largest reservoir in Ukraine in terms of area, 2,155 square kilometers, and the largest terms of water volume, 18.2 cubic kilometers. It was located in the three regions of Ukraine, Zaporizhia, Dniprovsk and Kherson, spanning a length of 240 kilometers. A nearly 4-kilometer long hydro complex was supported a 16 meters raised water level of the Dnipro River. Therefore, the negative consequences of this terrorist attack on wildlife will be visible over an area of at least 5,000 square kilometers, including the flooded and dried up zones. The zone that was covered by the reservoir waters for the past 68 years and is now will be exposed could exceed 1,000 square kilometers. We're talking about consequences of the Kakhovka HPP dam explosion solely for wildlife, although there are all sorts of ecological effects that are equally important and sometimes terrifying implications for the economy, energy, population, and ultimately nuclear safety for Ukraine and the whole world, which should be evaluated by relevant experts. Interesting that some foreign publications have neutrally reported on this catastrophic event. You, my fellow colleagues, try to neutrally cover this. Russians are shooting at evac boats and damaging the vehicles being used for evacuations. Well, so much for Russian goddamn Orthodox Church righteousness, right? They give Ukrainian prisoners of war to Hungary and yell and brag about it on every corner, yet they keep their mouths shut when the owner of Russian Church, Vladimir Putin himself, drowns people and shoots rescues. For example, in the village of Korsunka, Kherson region, water levels reached 3 meters. The graveyard was washed away, and the locals say they've seen corpses and coffins floating through the town. What else could be there in the water? What disease could it bring onto people trapped in the region already? No expert can tell how bad the situation is these days. They can assume, but only future weeks and months will show. One thing is obvious. It is bad for nature and for the locals. And another thing yet to come is that bottom of the reservoir that will be exposed. There is a large amount of sediment that has accumulated over decades. Slits, when dry, will become dust, and this dust will be carried by the winds. Hey, what a great metaphor, right? Whatever the winds will bring, we in Ukraine will get through all this with dignity and as a nation that fights for its right of freedom and self-determination. And what is left for the Kremlin is to be turned into dust of the history and to be blown to the wind like the venomous mud it leaves behind it. It was Henry Keane on UATV State Channel bringing hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. Stay safe and tuned for more tomorrow. Subscribe to our UATV channel for more news from Ukraine. Your support really matters. Goodbye and see you soon.